Yeah, now it is recording.
Cool.
It's two very identical looking bald guy talk
It's
show.
the 2Egg. It's the 2Egg show.
The 2Egg show.
Yeah.
It sounds good, actually. No, but
Authentically 2Eggs.
authentically 2X. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's still proud of the bald head. That's what I'm saying.
Well, let's say not that many people in the world carries it well. You got to have a really round head for a start.
That's true.
That's not a given.
That's not a given.
And so that's the first thing. Because the bald head deserves a little bit of a bit of a discussion, because a lot of people that I know, they're thinning out and they're just very protective of what is there.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
The last ground.
The remaining few troop soldiers, right? and this is very understandable for a man to feel sensitive, about the hair. In the evolution of nature, you look at a lion. If you can imagine a male lion without the lion's mane, I don't think the lion would carry as much confidence about himself. Although I haven't done that experiment. I mean, I haven't captured a live lion and shave all his mane.
Still kill us.
So.
It still kill us. But then I see what you mean. Like, if without the mane, it probably would affect its own confidence if it have one. I don't know if it have one, actually.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. I've been curious about that for a while now, because the mane is such a strong identity of a male lion, and in nature, size matters on a lot of things. And if you have a large mane and a very deep color mane, then just the look of it intimidates the opponents and other challengers of the male lions coming in. And the female also see that as a sign of authority, and they're more likely to support a lion with that kind of outlook. So it in my humble opinion, just in observation, if you look at human society over time, people are very conscious, or males are very conscious of the hair. And if they're thinning on the top, or having a receding hairline, or having a very mild bald patch up in the middle somewhere, they get very sensitive. They're very embarrassed, and they give a lot to fix it. Okay.
Try everything.
Yeah, but unfortunately, technology that we have doesn't do those things the way that we want them done, or it gets very, very expensive.
Oh yeah.
So it's but then what is the ultimate drive of this? And I think if they look in a mirror and they don't look like what they once were, many years ago, how do they feel about themselves, given that nothing really much has changed apart from a few strands of hair, but you don't feel the same about yourself, and you don't feel the same about your own perception of yourself, and the way you think about how other people see you. Okay, that's probably more the point. And it impacts socially, it impacts interpersonally and intrapersonally,
internally.
Yeah. And it weighs on you, for those people who regard this as a bit of a taboo subject, because some people don't like to talk, don't even want to joke about their own hair. You don't raise this topic, right? People often ask me, say, "Oh, sorry, I don't want to talk." I said, "No, talk about it." I talk about it, but I understand and I fully respect that not everybody is in a position, nor do they want to talk about it. Right?
I got people like being defensive for my head. So yeah, I think this is how taboo it is. Like, yeah.
I mean, everyone has some sensitive spots. I mean, that's number one. I think they deserve to be respected. And I don't even have to know if they are. I can sense if they are, right?
Oh yeah.
But for me, I mean, the reason why I am the way I am, I think I told you that, right? I was starting to thin out at some point, and then it's just taking an awful lot amount of time to get the right strands in the right place with the gel and blow dry it. I was just getting so sick of it. The amount of time that I spent was just disproportionate. And then when you go out, you can't wear a cap because once you wear, when you sweat, you don't want to take it off again. And if you don't want to take it off, it's very uncomfortable with the sweat all just, mushing up. And I said, no, there's got to be a better way. And so one day I decided I'm just going to go to the barber shop and get this guy to give me, an acceptably short haircut, right? Which wasn't this. It was more like a very...
like a skinhead.
Yeah, like a crew cut, with some styles. It's not just a even length all around, like a bear. It has some, it has some shape of it, right?
Okay.
It's almost like a flat top, but not quite.
Okay.
And then that time carried on for a little while. And then I found out, okay, there's another problem here, because at that length, I need to trim it very, very often. Like every 3 weeks I have to go. Otherwise, you do look like a bear.
Very easily, it was just like because the small strand just come out, and then now you look like very messy.
Yeah, it's not just that, but even with the gel, because the volume of the hair, because my hair is quite strong when I used to have them, and, so they stand out quite a bit. They don't fold very easily. So I can't use my hand and say, okay, flat, put the gel and put flat. It doesn't go.
Because especially when it is short hair, it just doesn't gel at all. So when it's like,
that's true.
Yeah, I don't know why though. Also, the remaining hair usually stronger too. Like you want this patch to be strong, but no, it's just like always just falling down, and then this patch is just like ding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I couldn't put it any better.
Yeah.
And that was just not a good look, right? So I then went to the barbershop and I said, look, can we go shorter today? I said, okay. Now, how short do you want to go? I said, I don't know. I've never used what you use, so I'll take your recommendation. And, oh, well, it's really a personal preference. And I said, okay, how about this? I said, okay. You want shorter? I said, okay, show me how short it is. And then it goes, how about this? I said, that may be a little bit too short.
Was this too late? Isn't
it? It's too late. I mean, you can't grow back that 3 millimeters, right? So the whole thing goes, and it's just gone very short. I looked at that as okay, well, I think it's okay, but I think my wife might be shocked.
Did you tell her when you actually do that? Like beforehand?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I mean, she obviously didn't know that there was a mistake at 3 millimeters.
Okay, well.
So I did that, and I got out, and she said, I mean, she didn't say anything. She said, oh,
interesting.
That looks nice.
Okay. So
try to be the kindest you could be, right?
I was like, interesting look.
But then in a very short time, it grew on me. I just love, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I first had the haircut, I couldn't help but feel the hair with my hand all the time.
Oh yeah.
I was rubbing it. It just feels so good.
It's whenever you have a haircut, you just have to do it mandatory.
Yeah.
Especially a shortcut.
Yeah. When you have a little stubble, like after I cue ball my head, right? If I shave it clean, like smooth, clean, it has a particular feeling, and it's nice to feel it. But it's much nicer when it has a little stubble, like almost 1 millimeter, and it's like, oh, it's like massage for your hand, right?
Oh yeah.
It's like a little sandpaper for your hand that is available at all times without creating, the sawdust. And you just every time it's like, you know what?
When sawdust come out, you should hydrate. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Well, there's another benefit because I used to have dandruff. I now no longer have them because there's nowhere to hide, basically.
Oh yeah, trust me. Skincare become one of the more surprising thing after going bald.
Oh, you do?
I do. Yeah, I didn't do it before, but my like even my skin when it's dry and flaking out, I'm like, you know what? Don't care. Typical male brain don't want to do anything about my skin.
Right.
And then after I shave, now I have more skin on my head, right? And the worst part is that because the skin on the skin that used to have hair are smoother because I think they're less exposed because of because it's freshly safe.
Mhm.
So that it's sort of created a two line of like very fresh skins that are relatively smooth and just dry flake desert at the bottom.
Stale.
Stale, exactly. So now I
Stale
have to
skin.
do like more skincare like all over to make sure that it looked the same. I don't mind having a
So,
bald head. I don't want having a two colored bald head. You know what I'm saying?
so you and your girlfriend does mutual facials.
What?
Mutual facials.
Oh yeah.
You would do a facial for her, and she would do a facial for you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I guess you're
Mutual
right.
facials.
Yeah. Oh, she
Here's my
forced me
face mask. Here, you can have one of mine.
Oh, trust me. Like she is my skincare like expert because I don't know anything about it. I didn't realize I have to because I used to only use those like I don't like oily skin. So
Neither
I
do
used
I.
to yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like I used to use those like men's like a dry skin, the one they take off the oil.
Mhm,
But what
mhm.
happened is that I didn't realize is after I take off the oil, I have to get the water back in or something like that.
Yeah. Otherwise,
And
it flakes again. Yeah.
yep, otherwise that's why I always have like skin after I clean.
Mm.
I always
Well,
just rub off.
it's so counterintuitive. You think, getting oil off your face is like washing dishes, right? Put some detergent on it, get rid of the
Yeah, rusty
squeeze,
dishes.
and then
Exactly.
you're done, right? Rub it off, and and I would rub like there's no tomorrow every other few minutes just to get it off. But what I didn't know was what you just said, was that the more you rub, the more the skin detects that there is no moisture and that there is no oil, and the skin would just replenish that. I said, okay, oh, haven't done anything. Let me give you some. And you didn't know that the skin has a natural function to want to be soft and supple to protect itself, because when the skin is dry, it breaks. And obviously that's not good news for the body.
Yeah, Alex is making oh, you can continue. Don't worry about it.
Is she making a coffee?
She's making a bulletproof for herself, so that at the back there you
Oh,
hear some
yeah, I
our
can hear
steam
it.
one at work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So I was
good.
like, don't
Yeah.
worry. Like house, there are people
Are
living in
you
the
having a
house.
bulletproof?
Oh no, I can't have it. My stomach can't have that much oil. I
Oh,
don't know why. Like when I go into keto with her,
mhm.
like the amount of fat that you have to eat is just so overwhelming for me that I actually have to go to the toilet every time. So it's just a different stomach. I don't know how she does it. It's
That's why I
just a
got off.
very different.
That's why I got off keto.
You could do it too.
I got off. Yeah.
Oh,
No, I was on keto for a while. I actually was talking to her about it the other day, but I didn't finish the topic. But um, the keto initially was very effective for weight loss, but after a while, I detected the constipation problems.
oh, you should.
Hmm.
So you just couldn't digest it, your stomach.
Well, either couldn't digest, or the efficiency is low, or whatever. I just find that it wasn't as natural and as easy as before. So, and then I find that the overall body composition, how do I say it? There is it's not as full and like, if you go to the gym and you pump some iron, and the muscle just kind of fills out the curve, right? After a while, it just
I see what you mean. Like the whole body is like pumping very fast. It's like circulating very fast, kind of.
No, but the muscle looks full. The muscle tone looks full.
Oh, I mean that. Yeah.
Okay.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
So what that means is that normally, if you do that, just with an average diet, there is a balance between muscle, subskin fat, and water content and everything that makes the body look the way it does, which is smooth and kind of curvy. I find that with keto, either the water content retention has been affected, or the subskin layer fat, or a bit of both. It doesn't look as plump, as full. And I mean, not that that look is good or bad. I'm just noticing there is a difference when I was on keto. And yeah, so, but after a while, I just find that if I listen to my own body, my body actually tells me what I need. And there are many times I don't nearly need as much food as I've been taking. So it's almost like an intuitive fast, if you like. I don't have a fixed fasting pattern, but if I don't feel hungry, I just skip a meal. I just don't eat.
Yeah.
But I don't eat up double the next meal unless I'm hungry. And if I'm hungry, then I eat to satisfaction. But I don't count it. Okay, well, I need 2 meals worth to make up this 1 meal. I don't do that. So at all times, the body is the guide. And I need to just respect the signals that I'm getting from the body and get better at listening and responding to the signal. So, because the body is kind of like a very intelligent mechanism. It is a big chemical factory. And if there are things that they need, I think it comes up to my mind as an imagery or a feeling or a
craving,
memory.
some sort.
Exactly,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
A craving. And you don't get the same craving all the time. And because of that, I think there is a reason why that craving exists. And when the craving comes, this is the thing I've learned, right? I don't go overdose on the craving. I start with a small dose, okay? And I test. Well, are you satisfied after this dose? What if you're not? Okay, I'll give you a little bit more. So rather than going, okay, your ice cream craving is coming. Okay, here's a bucket. No, it's just, here's a cone.
You go kill yourself with it or something like that.
Exactly. So
no, it's very useful though, like that, like craving, especially when I am hungry. Like there's sometimes like, because I think I don't have a very good diet management per se. So my problem is that I always like eat the same thing over and over again until I got bored or something like that.
Me too.
Oh yeah, right. It's easier, especially when it's COVID now. Like, you don't want to buy too much stuff.
Decision
same stuff.
fatigue.
Oh yeah, decision fatigue and all of that. Like especially I'm the one who cook at home too. I have to cook for 2 persons. So I was like, you know what? Repeat the same meal. But the problem with that is that, like, I don't know if it's not enough nutrient, or at least I didn't intake enough of certain things. So every now and then at night, I will get hungry for no reason, and then I will tell myself, okay, it doesn't make sense that I feel hungry now because I eat the right amount. I do count meals, so I was like, okay, I have eaten the right amount. And then so I will search in my brain and say, okay, what do I really want to eat right now? And then I will go through different food items, like, oh, ice cream, chips, ao lam, like beef biscuit, like noodles and everything, until it's one of them just hit, ding, okay, this one I want. And then, and now I was thinking, okay, what do this one have that the other one doesn't have? Sort of determine, okay, what kind of nutrient, or at least like what big, like sort of bracket of food am I missing? And then so I would just go buy them and then eat them immediately, or at least like eat it in the second meal. Sort of like that natural craving tells you what you're missing. And oftentimes I miss like things like that makes sense. So for example, I don't use a lot of salt when I cook, which is, my mom always told me, like, like having too much salt is one thing, like the amount you put is actually too badly for you, because it's just sometimes the flavor goes down a bit too much. And also you need salt to survive, electrolyte and all that stuff. So yeah, I found it to be a very useful way to sort of manage your diet naturally, just really, instead of like trying to force it. Because that's actually one of the reasons why I have to sort of leave keto too, because my stomach is very big. I can eat like Alex always look at me and look like a monster or something, because she would be eating like this plate and then she'll like full, and I would be like, this plate, one more, and 4 to 5 times more before I say, okay, yeah, now I am like around 80%. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm in keto, I have to control myself, because the amount of food is very little, right? Which is one of the good things about keto, which is a small amount of food gives you a large amount of energy. If you have a small stomach, it helps. But if you have a big stomach like me, I'm always starving. So it's just one of those things that is just not fitting for me. I need carb. I need my potatoes. I need my vegetables to fill up my stomach. Otherwise, I'm just not, you know, full at all. But then going back to the bald head conversation, though, you were saying like skincare, right? So how the skin like naturally have different oil to protect you. And there's a lot of other things too. I think like because hair and skin is one of those things, two of those things that I didn't really give much thought about, and I didn't really care about it until it started going bad. And well, and for some, I think when I was actually sort of fighting hair loss, that was actually one of the main reasons I have is sort of that regret, you know, that why didn't I do better on keeping my hair on? Because I used to have like, you know, very lush long hair that is very, very mud, very, very dense actually. So dense to a point I didn't like it because it sweat easily. So I was always like just letting it flow, and until I got too stressed when I was in Japan. I remember the horror of like those Japanese horror movie where like it was you look and then like there's like a trail of hair at home. Like that's essentially what I was experiencing every night. It would be like I didn't realize it when I go out.
Right.
And then I come back because when it's morning, it's not obvious. Like the natural light come in, white light didn't have that much reflection for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I go back, it's yellow light, and I turn on the yellow light, and they would go back, and then it would be like this small black strand all over the floor. And then it's like someone come in, they just shed hair and then just go out, and I have to clean it every day. It's just like a big bundle. That I didn't realize I was having hair loss until I actually one day look into the mirror, and I was like, oh, it reflects. That's how you know it's bad, right? And from that moment, I started actually, wash my hair properly, and like do cleanings and other stuff. It's way too late, and I try to fight for like around 2 to 3 years, I think, around that, and do different like hair products and try to get them to grow back again and this and that, and it just doesn't work until one day, as I telling Alex, my girlfriend, saying like, you know what, like, can I just go bald? This is too much. Like the amount of mental energy that you have to spend to actually keep that little strand of hair going on is actually a lot more. It uses a lot more than it deserves, what I would say. I mean, I understand for some that is the hair is a forbidden topic or maybe a sacred ground that hold personal meaning. So I don't mean to judge here. But for me, at least, it's just costing too much. I believe like when I listen to your story, it seems to be the same, right? Like it's just there is a hidden cost of keeping those strands of hair on top of your head that we really need to think about, because like the amount of confidence it strips from you, the amount of care that you have to put into it. You think about the total amount of time that you put on defending it. Maybe it might not be that worth it to just keep it on for a taboo, or and it like if you're worried about people laughing at you. Well, obviously you need support. Like for me, like the reason why I can go bald is because Alex supported me. She was there looking at me getting shaved, and it was like, yeah, you don't need someone to get your shaved bald. Like no, it's ceremonial. You know what I'm saying? Like just like that moment when a monk have like the master shaving for him. I just needed that moment to like, okay, now this is me going bald. And then, but very similar to you, like the moment I go bald, it's just so comfortable. It's just one of those like, I don't know, zen feeling that rush through you because of it literally, like the Buddha say, you're shedding off the how do I say it in English, like 烦惱絲. and I'm shedding off the all the thought and thinking and emotional burden, to the point that when I actually go back to the office, which actually the first time I show my bald hair is literally in front of everyone, because it was a lecture, or not really a lecture, a workshop that everyone that knows me in the office is there. And there was a general gaps the moment I walk in, right? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, new bald head. Do you like it? I thought I would be much more ashamed of it, really. I don't know about you. Like, I thought I would be much more, because, oh, bald head, right? Which I still get that look. I was like, oh, why do you get bald? And there are actually people that ask me, why do you get bald? I was like, why do you think I get bald? Because I want to. Because I'm a monk. Someone that question, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Actually, my story is slightly different. I before I shaved it all off, I had already imagined that one day it will all be off.
That's true.
And I don't know. I just think that it's meant to be. And I think for people like us, we have an advantage that not everybody else has, which is one of the points that I pointed out before, that the shape of our head is conducive to carry this style. Not everybody has such a smooth, rounded shape that naturally looks the part, for having no hair. I mean, you can always say, well, if it was dark, it would be nice. If it was this, it would be nice. Well, you can fix that, right? You can get some sun, and it would all be done in no time at all. But I do understand for some people whose shape of the head is not as regular or rounded, that if they tried, and maybe they have tried, and the result is not what they want, and it was worse than if they had kept some hair on. And you've got to feel for those guys, because it's not that they don't want to do it, but the other alternative probably is just as bad, or maybe even worse, right? I mean, imagine, this is not to make fun of anyone, but just to say an example, right? Yeah. Let's say Jack Ma has a problem with the hair, okay? And he's got a very square scalp, right? I don't even know what it would look like, him without hair, but you can imagine the way that it would look would be quite strange, right? For a normal shape, people expecting a normal shape, like a round shape. And this is not to say he's abnormal.
No.
Saying that different shape, really. Right? Yeah. And
all right, the forehead is a bit bigger.
Yeah, it would be hard. It would be hard. And imagine him doing the same thing, walking into the room. Imagine the gasp. Then, it would be like 5 times as loud, as True. If So yeah, I mean, and it's not just a square. Some people had pointy, quite pointy scalp. Some people have irregular shape, because you don't really know it until you shave it all off. By the time you shave it all off, it's too late.
Yeah.
I
don't know. That's but
and some people have a very flat spot at the back, because when they're a baby, they lie on the pillow and they don't move much. And there's a very obvious, flat spot.
Yeah, I actually have that. I actually have a bit of a flat spot, and I actually two sort of like a rail here. That's like a little bit dented in, but I think it's sort of got like if I shave myself like that, I will feel that, but it's not really obvious. But that's actually one of the other things too. Like, I understand what you're saying. Like, it's not everyone is, I suppose, blessed with a good head shape, which I do think I'm not trying to advocate that, oh, you should just all shave it off. Even though more or less I do think it's still a little bit better in terms of, because it's about, I think at that moment it's about sort of facing that inner demon, right? Like, it doesn't, for me, it was like this, like, as I didn't thought about my hair would look good after I shave. So the decision matrix that I had before I shave was, If I shave, I don't look good. If I don't shave, I probably don't look good. So both end is dead anyway. It's just might as well face it, right? It's just once you reach a certain point, there are just so much you can do to your hairstyle before it just doesn't look good anymore. And so then, but if I shave, at the very least, I don't have to fight that, battle of that field strand, the battle of the field strand. Yeah, that sounds good. And then, but if I don't shave, that is the mental burden that I have to take on forever. But so at the very least, shaving gives you the mental benefit, right? Even if it comes with a stigma. But that's the other thing. Like, it's not like people don't judge you when they don't see the hair, when they see a few shred of hair. I mean, at least I feel the judgment too. People see that like reflection, they give you the pity eye. I'm lucky and taller than other people, like, so that's why I avoid, going down and picking up anything, so no one can see the top of my head. But like, otherwise, it's like it's not like people don't judge you when you actually have when you have a few shred left. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me that I feel like there is a argument to be made to, even if you don't have a good hair shape, if it comes to it and you don't have the money to do implant, obviously, if you have Jack Ma money, you can have whatever hairstyle you want. Come on, that is still the truth. Like, that it's like, you see the price in like hair implant in China. It's like, oh wow. If I am rich enough, I probably have done that too. But
Yeah.
yeah, otherwise, like, I still think like having that done is either you do an implant like once and for all, or just go bald. I just don't think the middle solution. Obviously, if they are still fighting their battle, I'm not, no, by no means I'm judging it. I'm just saying, dude, come to our side, come bald.
Yeah. Well, there is a big psychological battle that the person has to fight, whether the head shape is optimal or not, because there's a hidden identity association of manlyhood, masculinity with hair in male. Going back to what we were talking about, and it goes back, deep, and then you look at what is around us, advertising, movie stars. How often do we celebrate a bald guy versus how often do we celebrate people with massive hair, long hair, ponytail, rock and roll, punk? What's the proportion? I mean, how often does Jean-Luc Picard become a captain of the Star Trek that is bald? Once. Once, precisely.
Yeah. I'm looking at that, like Justin Timberlake, and then I remember Vin Diesel went bald. But then, yeah, very little.
Yeah, but they have a very so Justin Timberlake went bald, and it's not really bald.
Yeah, it's really like it's just a shortcut.
He was almost like a rebel bald. It's
True.
just like skinhead bald, right?
Mm.
And that he can grow back anytime because the shape of the hairline is still all intact, right?
Fair enough.
So those are not real bald. Real bald is like, don't have a choice,
Mm-hmm.
because if I had the hair, it's going to look, not that good. And it's almost like a question. Am I identified by my hair? Is my identity made up by this? And if I lose it, what part of my identity do I lose? Am I this? Is that all I am?
A walking head with a hair.
Yeah. And if I don't have that, is there a lesser version of me, really? And you look at any other faculties of your body, nails, for example, hair on your hands or legs or wherever. Okay. If you lose those, you don't blink an eye. Oh, but if you lose this, you think that, that's a much bigger deal. because we're a visual animal and because we look at people in the eyes, and the peripheral will catch the hair very naturally.
Mm.
And the shape is very important because we recognize shapes, geometrical shapes. And the hair is a contour to your face, okay, when you have them, because it's black, your face skin is light. So that contour helps to shape your face. And we look at aesthetics mainly by proportions.
True.
Big versus small, wide versus narrow, all of that.
Mm.
And we judge aesthetics primarily by certain standards, like the golden ratio. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it is true because we can do experiments with people, showing people diagrams of which one looks better.
There's a internal beauty standard that is more or less common across the human race. Yes.
Like a beauty yardstick, right? What we call beauty. And for example, a rectangle that we're looking at, let's say the screen right now, is always preferred to a square. Okay. It just looks better. A wide screen looks better than a square screen for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why not. Okay. And if you are into photography at all, one of the first things they'll teach you is that you divided the photo frame by 9 squares, right? Equal squares. And you'd want to fit the object at 2/3 or 1/3 overlapping. So if I'm on the screen right now, an ideal position would be here, somewhere here, or somewhere over here.
In a photo, you mean? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And then that's going to look, it draws your vision to that place. But if you're dead center, it looks very symmetrical, but it's not very exciting. It's not very.
It looks like passport photo.
Exactly. Right. So this looks better because it's not a square. But if this were a square, this was a square, and I am actually in the square position, right in the middle, then it does look like a passport photo, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Okay.
So it's better that we position our head a little bit higher so that we're not squared like in the middle like this, right?
Yeah.
So this one looks aesthetically a little bit more pleasing because of that. It's a golden ratio. So if you put a square right here, right, then my head is almost like 1/3 up. Almost, because it's eyes. You catch people's eyes, right? So
so the line is now horizontally divided, you mean? So then our eyes are like around here.
Yeah. So you
like
can
1/3, 2/3 here. Okay. Right. Okay. I see.
So perfectly divided 9 square will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So here's 2 lines and here's 2 lines, and you have the 9 square, and you want to position the object at the 4 corners of the square in the middle, either 4 corners, 1/3 up, 1/3 left, 2/3 up, 2/3 left, 1/3 up, 1/3 down, 2/3 left. So in that square. And for example, if you're taking a shot of the sky and the sea, it would be a nicer photograph if the horizontal line, the horizon line, is 1/3 up or 1/3 down rather than bang in the middle, unless you want to catch a mirror effect, that there is a symmetry of the sky, let's say some clouds and whatever, and you can't tell which part is the sky, which part is the water, because the water is so calm, right?
So like the merged colors. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are those photos that I've taken, and I love them. But very often you don't get that perfect mirror finish for you to want to take that kind of effect. And when you don't, it looks much nicer to either go 1/3 up or 1/3 down. It just gives it a little bit more dynamic to the photograph.
Does it work when it's taking people too? So like
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you take people, let's say you take Alex, on a in front of a shop or whatever, position her head here or here.
Okay, like here or here.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Because then you have, so she would be the object of the photograph, but then she's standing there for a reason, because she wants to show you what's behind it. And it's almost like a journalist trying to introduce you to something. Here's what I'm seeing, right? You see that? So if you're standing in the middle, you're kind of blocking the view, if you like.
Of course, yes.
right?
But sometimes I position her like a little bit too much to the left or right because sort of
Oh
wanted
yeah.
to capture that one whatever that is
Oh
like trying to
yeah. Then
introduce like
then it's too much. Yes.
too much,
Yeah.
right?
Too
Yeah.
much. Yeah. 2/3 and 1/3. Anything more than that would be a little bit too much. So round about there,
Mm.
and you want to position the center of attention to be on that line. So normally the eyes. That's where your reference point is.
So her eyes need to be at the corner of the middle square.
Yes.
Ah. Okay, that's actually making a lot more sense to me now because
Yeah.
I never know what to do when I'm actually taking those photos.
Yeah.
That's why I hated taking it. I'm
Yeah.
very glad that like Alex is not a big, selfie.
So generally,
yeah, anyway, yeah.
generally for headshots, right? You wouldn't want to go 2/3 down because it looks unnatural.
Yeah, this
You
should
wouldn't want
be
to put a head right here, right?
so it should be
you
on
want to be
the
2/3
1/3
up,
line. Yeah.
like 2/3 up, 2/3 up, or middle, 2/3 left, 2/3 right.
So this is actually this two corner then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you play with a smaller range. Yeah.
Hmm. How about like a close up then? If you're trying to actually take the face, it's still the 2/3, 1/3 place then.
Yeah. So close up, my favorite when I took my wife would be so let's say she's walking facing that way. I would like to take it when she's still facing that way, but swing her head back.
That's self like we màu
Right.
how do I say it?
Hồi màu nhất mong,
We
right?
màu yeah.
That to me, right, for anyone, but especially for a woman, is one of the best poses because the face, you're only seeing a side of the face. So for most women, they're a little bit conscious about the size of the face or whatever, right? And then when you're looking at the side of the face, side profile of the face, you have more contours. There's nose, so it's more, more 3D,
curvy,
more 3D, more curvy.
Okay.
And you have also the hair that shapes part and just cover part of the face. So the face looks a little bit smaller, okay? And you capture a silhouette in addition to the features. There's a far more poetic look than just the whole face.
I see. Right? I see. The silhouette is much more recognizable. I can sort of imagine that.
Yeah. And then you would try to do some, my favorite thing is actually to take that with a zoom lens so I can blur the background. And I can draw that in. I can really see her in amongst a crowd of people behind her.
So the focus is obviously on her.
Right. So it's all of a sudden it's very sharp. It's almost like I spot you in the crowd and just you.
I get it. It's very, very clear image when you actually describe it.
Yeah.
So I still position her in the 2/3, 1/3 places.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I favor actually for me, I would always position on the left.
Okay. Just your preference.
My own preference.
Yeah. Okay.
My position on the left, and she would swing, and I would be taking
toward
her,
that side, I suppose.
I would be taking her right 3/4.
Yeah. This face essentially. Yes. Yeah. But what about like whole body or half a body? Is it like?
I rarely do that.
So whole body always.
Yeah, whole bodies. Okay. No, I rarely do whole bodies or half bodies.
Oh.
I almost only do face and up to here.
Oh.
Yeah, because if you're doing whole body and half body, you don't really see a lot of features. It's almost like purely the landscape, and I was here.
That's true.
I'll take a few shots, but I wouldn't take too many. Because if I want to take those shots, I'll take 1 or 2 shots and then say in here, and I'm going to focus on the landscape itself.
True.
But majority of the show would just be landscape. Because if you want to celebrate the landscape itself, then you want to do it justice.
So it's either the landscape or the people. And one maybe I was here photo, and that's it.
Yeah. The I was here may be a selfie, or you get someone else to take it for you, and then both of you, you're hugging and
the classic in the middle 2-person shot.
It's kind of like tourist photo, right?
Tourist photo, yeah.
I never look at those photos myself, even after I take it. Right?
Oh, never. Maybe I gave up looking at them like long time ago, actually.
Yeah, maybe until the day I die. That I find it more meaningful to take a photo like that. But I mean, I rarely look back at the photos that I've taken anyway in the first place. And when I do, it is almost the most memorable shots. Like once I was in Australia, we were driving, it was a storm, very heavy storm. And then within about half an hour, the storm cleared.
Mm.
And the day was setting, and then it was about 5:30, and we came around to this opening of some water.
Mm.
And I remember it was about 5:45, maybe. And all of a sudden in front of me, this guy appeared. 1 second, let me drink some water.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Like a clear throat time is necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy would appear. And then it just shocked me, because as you move from a bright to a darker sky, you see a spectrum of colors.
Mm.
But you rarely see the full spectrum at the same time. Like from light blue all the way into yellow and red
Mm.
and orange.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
It's like from orange and just
Yeah.
that shade of color going darker and darker and darker.
Mm.
Yeah.
And on that day, it did. So I was just in awe. I got out of the car, I took the camera out, and I just keep clicking. I must have taken like 60 photographs in the space of 5 minutes or something,
Mm.
because every 10, 15 seconds, the light will shift. I mean, for me to say that, that means it's noticeable. And you can imagine, what does it take for me to notice something change in that scale of size in the sky, and the speed of which it happened, how quickly it must have been for me to actually notice it. Okay.
It's almost like a slideshow changing
Yeah,
color. I like
it's
show.
literally changing in front of your eyes. That's what it was happening. And so there were, at that point, the water surface was mirror glass. So it was just absolutely flat, because after the storm, there's no wind blowing anymore. And they just left, right? And then the clouds in the sky has not dispersed yet. And you have these remnants of this rush clouds that have been blowing against each other in all sorts of different shapes. And now you have a sunset that casts shadows from clouds to clouds. Okay, imagine a cloud that was perfectly white, but now that you have another cloud in front, beside, above, below another cloud, the light comes through in between, and a shadow casts on each other.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
And the shadow of the light is not just black and white, because it is sunset time. There were clouds and colors of the clouds inside of the cloud that were changing. And it's the first time I've ever seen this happen. It was just, I can't describe it. I have to show you a photo later on.
Yeah, please.
And I would say those are the only photos that I keep going back to after all this time. You know, I took that photo maybe 15 years ago, and I still look at them, like the whole bunch of them, within that 5 minutes that I took.
Do you think it's the beauty of the photo that gets you every time, or is the feeling that you have captured? Because when I see you like describing it, like I see almost like you're talking about a lover.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's because for me, like a photo is always really, it doesn't mean much to it on its own. It doesn't mean much, right? And for me, it's always just the memory of it, and not just the memory, it is the memory of it. And but then there are people that take photos for, you know, aesthetic, which I was wondering, are you the case? Because is it the aesthetic? Is it the awe moment? Is it maybe fond memory behind that photo that make it so memorable?
It's it's a combination of a few things.
Okay.
It's the rarity of the moment so far in my life. It is the absolute aesthetics of the colors, the shape, the air. Because I was there, right? I was breathing the air. And me knowing that this particular moment, which is sunset, and always is done in a flash, right? And that rush of adrenaline to try to capture as much of that rare moment of beauty as I can. So there is a time pressure there. And I've got to look around because there are many different angles I can compose my shots that would make that shot beautiful. And I couldn't make up my mind. There's just so many different angles, right? And then the third element is I was in it. And I was curating this moment to be captured. There are 100 million different possible moments in that stretch of time. I am the curator to decide which snapshot is worthy of being taken.
It's your snapshot.
Yes. I will snap it, right? So I'm the creator of that. So the process of creation necessarily brings me into that moment. And therefore, I became part of that moment. And that moment became part of me.
It's pretty poetic, man.
You could say that every moment is part of you, but you definitely, some moments are more memorable than others.
Of course.
Right? Yeah. Every day you go to the toilet, but no, I don't really remember that much.
The everyday photo is the worst.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The rarity definitely plays a part. The absolute intensity of that moment, the fact that it's fleeting, the fact that I know it's going to be gone in a very short time, plays another part. And then I was there with the right equipment, the camera to capture that.
So it's the fact that it is the right moment at the right time with the right feeling, I suppose. And that experience of having to take that, so capture that moment for your own would be a good way to say it. That makes the photo yours then.
Yeah, I mean, it's that moment was for the world, not just for me, but I happened to be around that, and I happened to pay undivided attention to that moment when I was there. I mean, there could be other people doing similar things, or they maybe not, but I was there, and I was just totally consumed by it because there is a time element, right? Every shot that I capture is one less opportunity to capture another shot because time's always taken away. And normally you don't get this type of rush with photography, but when you're capturing real-time changing landscape, like shooting things like waves or wind or fast changing light like the sunrise and sunset, because the spin of the earth changes the wavelength of the light at a speed that you cannot imagine. We're spinning around at 1,000 kilometers per hour. We hardly feel it, right? But that's how fast we're going towards stretching that light wavelength that makes it change color. Okay.
Well, the atmosphere, the reflection angle of the atmosphere changes it, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
So then the fact that you're in it and the fact that you are mastering the capturing process, right? It has a certain burden but a certain excitement at the same time.
Burden, you say?
Yeah.
You feel like it's obligated to actually take that?
No. It's more like a burden of, could I have taken a better shot? Yeah. Like the burden of, taking the wrong shot, right? oh damn, I should have I moved a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, and a little bit up, a little bit down. Maybe I just zoom in there, and maybe I could add a filter there. It's just it's just so many things to think about in the heat of that moment. Yeah.
Everything you have learned for photography is that
yes,
moment.
Yes, it's exactly right. It's like going to the Olympics, right?
Oh yeah.
You train 10 years for 5 minutes of performance.
Yeah.
You know,
but that burden makes it better too, isn't it? Because if you can take everything, it wouldn't make it special.
It wouldn't, and also the digital camera makes it much easier to remove the stress. I mean, imagine if I was taking with film, and I only had 24 or 36, I would really have to think hard, and thinking that hard with that much limitation really puts the pressure on. And but that would be a very different kettle of experience. It wouldn't be. You would really. It would be a next level of
stressful experience.
Mastery.
Okay.
You know, in order to, I think you'll be a lot more settled with your decision, knowing that you can't change it and there's nothing you can do. You go a lot more with your feel at the moment, knowing that you're running against the time, and it's better to take a shot now than letting time run away and having no shots. Even if there is a shot that you might be slightly regretting, you just don't have the perfect length of time to make deliberation on so many different factors.
True.
And it's kind of like life, right? I mean, for example, you let's say you have to choose what to do, like a job, right? And there's 1,000 things you can do because you're capable.
I knew you would make that segue, but anyway, go on.
Anyway, 1,000 things you can do.
Okay.
And why do this or why do that? What were the things you were thinking about? And before you actually do it, you can't really know what it's really going to be like day in, day out. You can just imagine and try to learn enough about it. So, you try to know enough, but it doesn't substitute for the real thing. And you'll find out in reality, there is a disconnect, there is a gap, and sometimes those gaps are beyond your expectations. Sometimes it doesn't meet your expectations, but you do it because the alternative is, well, I'm just gonna keep waiting, keep thinking about it. Nothing wrong with that, but time is running away in your life. There is a hidden cost of that opportunity cost. If you choose not to do anything, right? It's not about right and wrong. It's about factually, time's running out.
Getting lost.
You won't get it back, right? So I think that is probably more representative of that abstract in that moment. Time's always running away. You have to do something. You do it the best you can, and maybe that's how it should happen.
You see the shot, and instead of deciding whether to take it, to just to take it, and 15 years later, you have no regret of that. Well, you wouldn't regret a photo, I suppose, but
no, I never. Yeah, I would have. Yeah, there's nothing to regret. I mean, I have. Even if you bring it back to me, I might have taken different shots, but I would doubt it that because I was able to do that, that I would say, oh, okay, this is much better, and I shouldn't have done. No, I don't think I'll feel that. I was just so immersed in the moment. The moment still feels real to me now, as I describe it to you.
Yeah, I can feel that, the energy that you're coming off with. Yeah. And those kind of regret never really happen. Like I could have done better regret. I don't know if it's a word to describe it, but it's like Alex is the worst offender is this, and she's looking at me now. Yeah, you can hear it if I say something bad about you. I'm right next to you. Come on. No, because I'm better too. That feeling that when you do something and you try to achieve something, but then you regret, you worry that you will regret about not doing your best. as, oh, this is a shot. And now because this is such an important shot, like you would, do everything in your power to try to perfect that shot, right? But the moment you finish doing it, and then because you do all those like preparation because you're worried about regretting in the future not doing your best, right? But maybe because you have done all that, or maybe because I don't know if it just naturally never happened, but afterward, you never really thought back to those moments and think I could have done better. At least for me, I don't feel like that happened to me yet. So maybe it's just, I was trying to go to the point where I feel like sometimes maybe those were a bit much. I don't know, because it's never really about. It's never, so long as you're actually doing the best at that moment, right? You never really have to regret on not doing good enough, because it's that moment's best already. And I think when I listen to your story of the photo, that's what I feel like, because it's like, even if you could have done better photo now, you wouldn't care, because that's 15 years ago, that was the best you could have done. And you go back again, it's still the same thing. I was thinking like that. That's maybe the lesson to learn there, to sort of remind myself that, yeah, you know what, like, don't give too much thought about like whether you can do your best or not. Just, I think, do it, man.
Well, there's three stages of that, right? So first you think about doing something, and then you decide actually whether to do it or not. And then after you've done it, you take a look at what you've done. Well, it goes awfully short if you never did it.
First stage, boom.
Yeah, you don't have to think about anything at all.
Okay.
Right? So
not doing is always easier, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, your explanation is very, very insightful. Where you could rationalize it that way, but I think for some people, if they have not felt that they did their best at that moment, I think this may be where some of the thought would go back and say, well, what have I done this and what have I done that, right? If you know that you've done your best, then obviously you feel good and you feel fulfilled and say, hey, no regrets. And I think most of the time that regret comes from you either questioning, hesitating, or you know for a fact you have not done your best and you could have done better, far better. Okay. Well, what kind of situation would that happen into?
Yeah,
for example, when you could have been better prepared on doing something, which is in your control. A very few example would be, let's say you go for an interview, and on the day you go to interview, you were sick. You had a sore throat. Well, was it all just down to luck? Was it? What were you doing a few days before the interview, up through the interview? Were you sleeping late? Were you eating junk food? Were you partying? Were you having a drink? If that interview matters so much to you, how much are you willing to give up to ensure a safety belt of everything that doesn't go wrong for you to go arrive at that place in the most optimum presence of yourself? Right?
Yeah.
Or do you even think about it this way? And if you don't, the question is, could you have done? And if you did, would it have been different? And so not many people would go use this amount of mental energy to go back and revisit decisions like that. It's mentally tiring, draining.
And every time,
and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? If that every time, like, I mean, I understand for big decision, and I mean, I think a good example would be my driving test. Like the first time I did my driving test, I failed, even though everyone around me say I would succeed. Even the tutor say that you're too good to fail. In this case, I was like, okay, well, that is the pressure. But like, then I think the night before, I didn't really give much thought about it because I was so confident. And I end up being a bit too tired, and
Mhm.
some accidents, not really accidents, but I didn't drive perfectly because it's an exam. And then I got my fail and have to pay another few $1,000 to amend that mistakes. But
Mm.
I mean, so what you're saying, I think is I sort of understand the regret of not doing well enough or not preparing to your best, but to think that you have to do that every time to go through that mental process of what could you have done better. I feel like there needs to be a line to like where you just have to say, you know what, this is enough preparation, right? Because otherwise, there's always something you can do about it up until the day it happens. Like you could have, if you don't think you look good enough, you can have, go actually do a surgery or something before big photo shoot. Or if you feel like you haven't studied enough, then you can always pump another exercise, always do another exam. But then where do you draw the line there, right? At some point, you must draw a line and say, okay, you know what, this is enough. And even if I fail after this amount of effort, there shouldn't be any blame on yourself, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, please. You were saying
No, I agree. And this goes back to maybe something we were talking about yesterday, which is the balance.
the balance, yeah.
Yeah. We can't really define it in a very narrow way because it kind of is up to a very subjective way of what that means to you.
What is balance is different for everyone, yes.
Yeah. But I would say, generally speaking, the loose description of balance, in my humble opinion, is, well, what gets you relative harmony in your life would be a good direction to head towards, right? And well, harmony about what? Harmony about a few things: health, mental health, physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, psychological health. Then career or vocation, whatever you choose to do with your life. So I don't want to narrow the meaning to making a living, but it's something that you dedicate yourself to doing that you find meaningful, in your life. And the third thing is relationships with people, with yourself, and with other people, and the quality of those relationships, how that makes you feel and settle in amongst their presence. And the fourth thing is your personal growth. Are you actually growing, or are you flatlining and you're not really learning anything new? You're not really curious to learn anything new. I think it's two different things, whether you're learning or whether you are even curious to learn. Are you motivated to learn? Or do you want to learn? It's not a given. It's not an assumption that everybody, yeah, sure. Some people are actually, in reality, not. Because if you don't judge by what they say and you judge only by what they do, you see a very different fact, very different reality of people. So when those four things starts to gel and you are getting enough momentum and dynamics in those four corners, all of a sudden, I think you start to feel, yeah, things are working out. I'm, having a bit of this, having a bit of that. I feel good about myself. I feel good about, having good quality relationship, good quality conversations with people. I interact well with them. We support each other. We have great conversations. We have much fun. And then, all those kind of things kind of come together, and it makes you feel that this is life, And it's not always about the amount of money that you make that gives you that, because many things that are in the right direction, money actually cannot help you get there. Sometimes it's actually blocking you from getting there because you spend so much focus on getting the money. And you neglect the amount of time that it takes to nurture, the other parts, like health, right? Can money get you? Well, get you some medicine, but only after you get sick. So that's not much of a consolation.
It's still useful, but yeah.
Yeah. How do I not get sick in the first place? I think that's more of a relevant question. What do I have to do? Well, eat the right thing, drink the right thing, don't smoke anything, go to bed early, blah, 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 right? There are basic things that we know that are building blocks of what makes, good things happen in those corners. But do we do them? More importantly, do we get in the habit of doing that? I think that's a far more relevant question because, if you wake up one day and you just say, okay, I'm just going to wing it, I have no plans, then you probably end up doing all the things that you probably shouldn't have done, right? Spending far too much time on some things that, maybe I should only do that for half the time, but I did it for the whole day.
Wow.
Whatever it is, right? And then you later on secretly being guilty and saying, well, tomorrow I'll do differently. And then you wake up and you try to wing that again.
Yeah, but that kind of like the amount of focus you need to say, purposefully try to balance this four corner, I think is immense, considering like before I would say I actually understand what you say, but now after experiencing like actually, actually COVID and myself going through a journey of like, leaving my job and learning how to be more empathetic and all that thing happened in life. And then it sort of suddenly hit you that at least people in my age or when I am in years ago, right? I understand that four factor exists, but the importance of how much energy or weight to put in each corner is such a different math that I wouldn't even call. I would almost feel like I'm always unbalanced, even though now I feel balanced. And I look back at years ago, I feel like, oh, that was actually quite tilted towards some side. You know what I'm saying? I almost always feel like I'm just wobbling on that platform. And what I want to say is that like it's such a difficult thing to understand how to balance that without age, or experience, most importantly, that it almost feels impossible to know what is the balance. And the worst part is that sometimes it's like I always have this fear that because I'm not balancing it well, because maybe I didn't take care of my health better enough, maybe I didn't choose a good vocation, maybe I didn't treat my family, my lover good enough, that something will fall off in the future. That's where I guess my question, like, how do you feel? Like, how are you sure that you have balanced it, even though the feeling of balance sometimes can be deceptive? Because I personally found that a bit scary to think sometimes, to know that my feeling of whether it's good now might not be representative of my surrounding. Even I could be in this false sense of security of a secured future, but in reality, I'm not talking about like accident happening. I'm talking about even now in present. How do I know my relationship is going well? Even I feel it's going well, I ask the other person it's going well, but maybe something is happening I'm not, aware of. How do you know you're actually on that floor balancing ground, not, a false sense of security?
This sounds like a perfect opportunity for a break, and we'll come back straight after this.
Good. Like, let me stop
press the
recording.
button. Yeah.
Yeah.